Harry's Wife, part 78.11. No, my eyes. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There are many things in this world that people regard as truly awful, despicable, disgusting, and evil that you do not wish to look upon. Gory pictures, the pain, the hurt, the misery. Victims of torture, victims of beating, victims of abuse. Images and pictures of those individuals and others who have suffered in some shape or form. Emaciated forms stumbling out of concentration camps. Individuals who have been subjected to electrocution, burns, acid attacks, and so forth. All of those things invariably cause offence in many of the viewers, finding it difficult to look upon the very picture that is presented before them, as it represents a very dark side of human behaviour. There are places that I have been to, and situations I have found myself in, where I have gazed upon certain things which many of you would be unable to look upon without fainting, vomiting, or bursting into tears. However, those are matters which are serious. There are in some instances things that you look upon and would say, no, my eyes, because it's a truly terrible thing. It's an offence to your eyes, not with the gravity of the matters that I have just mentioned, but rather in a more comedic fashion. Certain things which are a sheer effrontery to what your iris and pupils are looking at, that they somehow burn an image into your head that causes you to wake with chilled sweats at 3 a.m. as wraith-like the image looms up in your dreams, coming towards you as if it's going to devour you, reminding you of that awful moment when you looked upon this horrendous thing. Such matters would include, for instance, having to view that atrocity that was Battlefield Earth. Or, if you had the misfortune in the early days of the internet to search for Goatsy, the corresponding image will have caused many to recoil. Perhaps it might be that you've looked upon Meghan Fox's toes that she has for thumbs, or that you've looked at the People's Daily Building in Beijing and thought, no, what were they thinking? You might have had a similar reaction when looking upon Gwyneth Paltrow's Oscar outfit in 2002, or when perhaps viewing Woman 3 by Willem de Kooning. In some instances, it's looking at another human being. If you've had the misfortune to look at Rodrigo Alves, who's known as the Human Ken doll, and ask yourself, why in all of the matters fuckery, why? Or Jocelyn Weldenstein, who's also known as Catwoman. Despite having huge amounts of money, she had fuck all taste. Or it might be looking at Natasha Crown's butt and saying, no, my eyes, please spare me that which I'm looking upon. I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about. Well, with all of that, prepare yourself, steel yourself. Perhaps you should ensure that you empty your stomach before proceeding, because there is a chance that the contents will find their way coming back up and landing in the chuck bucket. If you are of a faint disposition, you may wish to stop this video now, because the images about which you are going to be shown are not for the faint-hearted. They take you into a dark place indeed. These are images which you should ensure are never seen by children. Such is the sheer ridiculousness and debauchery portrayed in these pictures, the sheer lack of taste. Your sense of disgust will be both overwhelming and tangible. You may feel faint. You may indeed pass out. You may splutter, stunned by that which you're looking upon. Of course, no liability can rest with me. You've been duly warned that what you're about to look upon will cause you to think that you have plummeted into the lower reaches of hell in the particularly tasteless section. With all of that mentioned, you must now prepare yourself, and if you feel suitably girded and you feel suitably brave, you can now proceed as I take you through a series of photographs, but you will, understandably, at some juncture, cry out, "No, my eyes!" Here is our first image. At first glance, you may well think that you are looking at Prince Harry towering above his wife, Harry's wife, as she rests on her shoulders, propping up her back, legs in the air, as Harry grips those ankles, and she stares up at him over the curvature of the bump of pregnancy, all taking place within a wood-panelled study. This, however, is not Prince Harry, nor is it Harry's wife, but two actual lookalikes. And for some reason best known to the delinquent mind that operated there, some time ago, a photographer called Alison Jackson decided to hire two lookalikes and to try and envisage what the dynamic would be between Harry's wife and Harry with the imminent arrival of Archie. It would appear that as a consequence of Harry's wife being a huge fan of yoga, and as an expectant mother, that Alison Jackson decided to take you, and those who'd viewed it previously, on a journey into the lower reaches of insanity with a series of images that envisages what might actually be going on. And so to the first one, what is really going on here? Can you imagine what's actually occurring as Harry's wife is saying, "Hold my ankles, damn you, ginger bollocks, and if you don't, I'm going to release a guff of immense proportions right up into your hairy face. Don't snigger, don't smirk, this is important to me. I'm adopting this position to ensure that this baby has enough blood rushing to his head to give him maximum cerebral capacity. We will have the world's brainiest baby. Keep me still, you stupid spare. Don't you understand? This is fundamentally important." Those may well have been the words. Alison Jackson didn't go so far with regard to this asylum of the grotesque in terms of telling us what might have actually been said or what was being thought whilst these pictures were being taken, and instead it falls to your glorious narrator to fill in the gaps for you by way of entertainment and amusement. One suspects also in this first image, as Harry looks down from above, he's probably giggling to himself because there is a hole in the leggings that are being worn by his wife, and he can see the yawning chasm of doom looking back up at him from whereon winks his yellow felt tip. Yippee, thinks Harry, I can now finish off that picture of the sun. I wondered where that yellow felt tip had got to. And of course, quivering with excitement, he starts to shake the legs of his handler, which results in her having to eject a smelly and disgusting guff by way of punishment. You see, there was a small devaluation directed at Harry as a consequence of his failure to enable her to maintain control over him. If you are managing to still be able to see through no doubt tear-filled eyes, as if chili pepper has been thrown into them, if you have managed to remain conscious as you continue to gaze upon these abominations, you join me for the second photograph, which provides you with another yoga pose. At this point, what's actually happening here? Well, you can see from the visual that Harry, of course, is in his usual subservient role, having to act as a prop. On this occasion, he is some kind of elongated stand that is being utilised to allow the left leg of the Harry's wife lookalike to rest it upon his right shoulder. And in this picture, she is splayed, head down, hands resting on the rug, her left leg planted down, her right leg resting on Harry's shoulder. But what's actually occurring here? What are the thoughts? What's actually being said? Well, it's quite clear that Harry's wife at this point will be saying, "Keep hold of me, you clown. I haven't yet to find it. I know that Diana's ring is down here somewhere. I'm sure I saw Prince William throw it through the window the other night. He was trying to gift it to me, because you see he's secretly in love with me, as are all men, and indeed women, because I am so beautiful, so gorgeous, so enticing. And he threw it to me as a little gift, and I'm sure it's here down in this rug, but if you would just ensure that you hold my leg properly, you Titian buffoon, I'll be able to find it. And then in so doing, I put it on my finger, and it makes me have magical powers. I will become Diana 2.0, and everybody will love me, even more than they love me already." Meanwhile, of course, what's Harry thinking? Well, this time he's staring at the bottom of his wife, and no doubt thinking to himself, yes, that is a bottom. I've got one of those. I sometimes sit on it. Often it gets smacked by my wife because she tells me that I'm a naughty Harry, and that if she catches me again squishing my pink pancakes against the freezer lids in Iceland, that she will send me to bed with no supper, and she'll take away my entire Crayola set. Harry is having a moment of reflection as he thinks upon all of the bottom bumfoolery that he could be subjected to. Fortunately for him, this perhaps aids him in his task of trying to maintain a steady hand upon the calf of his wife as she continues to scrutinise the rug beneath her for her precious. Photograph number 3. Still with me? Very well done. You do possess fortitude. Dry those eyes. Perhaps use a little Optrex to drop into them to clear your sight. Take a drink of water. Perhaps others with you need the smelling salts. As we move on to 3. And here, that isn't one of Harry's testicles that's on display, pink, glowing, full to the sack because he's had no recent relief. No, it's a specific ball used for the exercises. And here, Harry, of course, relegated to sitting behind his wife, something, of course, which he is well used to, witness Time magazine cover. This time, we're treated to Harry's wife stretching that leg, demonstrating that she has flexibility, something, of course, that other suitors of hers are well acquainted with, as she utilised her somatic wiles for the purpose of the assertion of control. Here, the bump is front and centre. It's not as large as the big pink ball beneath, but it's certainly prominent, and Harry has been instructed to place his hands either side of it. The earlier photograph suggests that his hands might have wandered north to give a little squeeze to the old boobs, but he's been slapped down and instead has to grip the bump to ensure that it's brought to extra prominence. As you will be aware, that it was written in the code of Harry's wife, whereupon all bumps must be identified, highlighted and emphasised at all times. Here, she can't do the customary cupping of the bump herself, because her left hand is gripping the base of her left foot, and her other hand is on the thigh of Prince Harry to ensure that she maintains a degree of balance. Therefore, because it would be remiss of her to ensure that the bump is not highlighted, her lackey has been instructed to place his hands upon it. This time, there's some eye-to-eye action. And Harry's thinking, this is great, it feels like a huge gobstopper. I used to be allowed those when I played out in my shorts. I wonder if I'm really good and colour in a really nice picture for her that I might be allowed my own gobstopper again. That would be simply spiffing. Meanwhile, Harry's wife is thinking and saying through her gritted teeth, "Hold me still, you pillock. We need to get a good photo here." I'm thinking about the fact that the very thing that I'm sitting on is precisely what I'll do to you later if you don't behave yourself. That I'm going to sit on one of your testicles and squish it like a grape, you silly ginger buffoon. Of course, this is all done with the usual fixed rictus grin, as those inky dark eyes stare into his. He thinks this is all jolly japes. Meanwhile, she's wondering when on earth she's going to be able to get rid of this idiot and get her hands on the real prize. And to our final photograph. If you've made it this far without vomiting, you really do have a sterling constitution. But can you keep your lunch down any longer, as your eyes now look upon which quite simply is the starfish? You're almost able, of course, to see the starfish as the starfish is performed. And here, once again, Harry has been instructed to emphasise the bump in accordance with the code of bump. He looks particularly delighted. This is because he's able to nuzzle his boner against her rear whilst grinning and giggling to himself, thinking it reminds himself of that time in prep school when he got a little bit of a boner and rubbed it up against Matron's ankle. Here, Harry's wife, demonstrating arms that wouldn't be misplaced on Mr. Elastic in the Fantastic Four, grips the feet, which seem rather large in comparison, and we're treated to a full open display of the legs. A position, of course, that she's not totally unfamiliar with, as being told, bury me in a Y-shaped coffin. Of course, whether these events actually occurred is entirely a matter of speculation, but the photographer seemed to think that this would be the type of thing that would be indulged in between Harry, and of course, between Harry and his wife. And naturally, when one assists one partner with regard to yoga positions, one always does so suited and booted. Not for Harry slipping into the Nike or the Adidas. Oh no, he still wears a suit, shirt and tie, whilst sitting on the ball or leaning over and gripping those legs and providing a stabling influence with regard to balance. Not for him the opportunity to slip into something casual. Meanwhile, Harry's wife, of course, is enjoying the fact that the fresh breeze is circulating around her nether regions, and that all of the world is being invited to think about what has gone in there and what might well be coming out of there also. A horrifying thought and image indeed. The looks of delight only serve to accentuate this horrific scene, as the photographer's denouement for this monstrous act of reconstruction is to leave you obsessed now with the sensation that you're going to fall forward and be consumed whole by the maw of Markle. I'm H.G. Tudor. You've done very well if you've survived looking at these pictures. Thank you for doing so.